Right now, the Democrats in the New York City mayoral race faced off last night. Barbs were exchanged, but the question is, who came out on top? And next, an all-female jury will decide George Zimmerman's fate, but what will that mean for the trial? And later, we say goodbye to New Jersey's own James Gandolfini. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in again tonight for Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday evening, June the 20th. We begin tonight with the race for mayor in New York City. Last night, a televised debate between the 7 Democrats in the race. That debate, hosted by New York One, focused on Latino issues, and there was a good deal of sparring last night, even a few laughs, but almost everyone agreed on one thing: their disapproval of Mayor Bloomberg.
This administration has walked away from bilingual education and English as a second language, and that's why English language learners are doing so badly.
In the Bloomberg years, we have been disinvesting in the things that would most help kids who need to get ahead.
For 12 years, the Bloomberg administration neglected, ignored the needs of 600,000 fellow New Yorkers who live in NYCHA buildings.
He shouldn't even have had a third term. I don't want him breaking anything during his third term and leaving anything broken.
The biggest jabs were between public advocate Bill de Blasio and City Council Speaker Christine Quinn.
Early childhood education, we've lost 10,000 quality teaching childcare seats in the last 5 years. After school, we've lost 30,000 after-school seats in this city. Mayor Bloomberg's budgets, approved by Speaker Quinn, over the last 5 years.
Look, this is an important question, and it shouldn't be reduced to the public advocate just taking cheap shots and distorting the facts. Because you know what? Talk is cheap, and this is about delivering. And in my time as Speaker, we haven't talked about bringing more child care or early childhood education. We did it. 10,000 additional child care seats, full-day pre-kindergarten seats come September.
I want to bring in our panel on this. We're joined by Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science from Iona College, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, Scott Levinson, the president and founder of the Advance Group, and Mark Furnish, professor at Brooklyn Law and an attorney who has argued before the Supreme Court. Scott, I want to start with you because you are spearheading the Anybody But Quinn campaign so far, very effective. We heard from her earlier in this week about fighting back against some of the things that have been hurled at her. She certainly seemed to be a little more combative last night. I take it you don't think it's going to be very effective.
I don't. I mean, obviously she exposed herself once again last night for moving her positions to suit political ends and personal ambition. The most glaring example was her position on Ray Kelly, who a month ago, 5 weeks ago, she was reappointing unconditionally, and last night she slipped in a condition only if he reduces stop and frisk. It's a minor nuance change, but it shows her just shifting her positions for this personal political gain.
Do any politicians not do that, though?
That's a good question.
Well, you know, it's going to be very interesting now, Andrew, watching the debate last night. Quinn has taken the gloves off. Now, we know where Scott's coming from in terms of this race, and he's been quite effective. But she is still the front runner. It may be by a very slim margin, only 5 points, and she may be headed down, who knows. Weiner may be headed up. We know Thompson is doing strong, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this race shapes up and how it turns out with Quinn now finally avoiding the rose guarding strategy of ignoring the others and fighting back.
But Jeannie, I'm curious if you think that's a potential problem for Quinn, because you know she had all these pieces that were written about how she strong arms on the city council, so she goes with the rose garden approach, as Dominic called it, and now all of a sudden she has to reverse course just in terms of the procedure and how she deals with all this.
You know, I think she had no choice. I mean, we've been saying around this table for some time now, she has got to fight back. She has not taken this race. That's why Weiner was able to enter and come as close as he has.
But doesn't that play into all of those reports that we heard initially about her, that she too much of a fighter, too much with the strong arm?
No, I don't think so. I think she was too much gloves off, actually, to begin with. I mean, what she was doing behind the scenes in her office is one thing. What she's doing on the campaign trail is another. And I'm not saying she should be using foul language or attacking people viscerally, but she should be attacking them on the issues. But I do agree with you about the Ray Kelly issue. I think that it is an issue for her, and I think it's more than a minor switch. I mean, for her to say, you know, she's going to appoint him unconditionally, and all of a sudden last night it was this movement, and people don't care when they're voting whether or not that's something politicians do. She doesn't want to be a politician.
I agree with you, but I think the bigger problem that you're alluding to, Andrew, is the general narrative around the race. And when a candidate drops from 37, 39 to borderline 20s, where she is on most internal polls now, most people see that as a free falling in her numbers. So a shift in tactics looks almost desperate in an attempt to regain her footing. So it's almost damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But might it work? And we don't know yet. It might very well work. What we didn't see last night, Weiner held his own, but I think as the campaign, because let's face it, the only folks that are paying attention to this right now are us. As the campaign finance board debates get underway, that's when you watch Weiner, because that's when his personality is going to come out. Right now, they're having almost 3 debates a day, it seems like. And, you know, it's just overkill right now.
And it was interesting that last night Weiner was attacking Bloomberg, de Blasio was attacking Quinn. I mean, you know, Weiner was almost trying to be above it all and say, look, I've got this thing wrapped up. And we've talked about the fact she's still, you know, number-wise ahead, but he is coming on strong.
But for somebody like me who's not a politician, I assume they're attacking Bloomberg because Quinn's the front runner and they're trying to tie her to Bloomberg. Is that the strategy?
Well, attack Bloomberg because, one, she's seen as close to him, but more importantly, he's the most unpopular person in the field.
And if not for her, he may not be there right now.
But interestingly enough, talking about Ray Kelly and what you're saying is a flip-flop from her there, Ray Kelly's got 68% approval rating from New Yorkers in a Quinnipiac poll from May as to how he's handling his job as police commissioner. So, you know, the running away from Ray Kelly, you would think there would be some value in the argument that, well, maybe I would like to keep Ray Kelly on as police commissioner.
Correct. She could have stuck, held her position, and the 68th percentile in a 5-person race suggests not a bad play. But this feeling from the voters that she's disingenuous in her positions is what's going to kill her in the end.
Ray Kelly may be extremely popular, and he's been that way consistently for years. But stop and frisk, and as long the police department and Kelly, even though his numbers are high, they're almost being tarred with the issue of stop and frisk.
Well,
and
if you have Teflon, how does he avoid that?
He
It's
does have
very
Teflon
surprising.
because he has very high numbers in the black community. Ray Kelly is someone who was Dave Dinkins' police commissioner, who spends, you know, almost every other Sunday in black churches. He goes out to the community. But that doesn't get away from the issue of stop and frisk. And that's why I think Quinn is starting to say, wait a minute, I'm in trouble. Maybe I better push Ray overboard here.
And we have to remember, she is not running in a general. She's running for a
That's
primary.
right.
And the
That's
people
right.
who vote,
That's
as
right.
Dominic mentioned, not everybody's paying attention. Not everybody's going to vote. It's the hardliners who are going to vote in that primary, and that's who she's playing to. And that's why, regardless how popular Ray Kelly is, and he is incredibly popular, he always has been, the fact is that this is not a popular stop and frisk issue with people who are going to vote in that primary.
And to the Bloomberg point and to your point, that primary electorate is far to the left of registered voters.
And
the
that's where I was going,
the polls that you're reading off of are registered voters. Most of the polls that show her down in the polls are likely.
And remember what Kingmaker Al Sharpton said. You may not like Al Sharpton, but Sharpton said anyone basically that supports stop and frisk, he can't be with you. Even the only African-American candidate in the race, he chastised Thompson and invited Weiner to his Saturday rally after Thompson has basically supported modifying stop and frisk.
We're going to have a debate one night on whether Al Sharpton really is still a kingmaker.
Oh, he is. Oh, yeah. He is.
Wow, I guess we don't need to have that debate after all.
He is undoubtedly one of the most sought-after endorsements.
Right, period.
Really?
Do we have to go to break?
Yeah, we do, unfortunately. And
You always cut me off, Andrew.
you know what? You'll get the last word in our next segment. Up next, an all-female jury will decide George Zimmerman's fate. So what will that mean for the trial? Our panel's going to break it down next. Stay with us.